this this was a really big dance move back in the 80s, kids. So like if you want to go to parties and be really popular and retro, this it's like jazz hands, but really, really, really excited. Okay, so this is a review. This is actually my first review, and this is going to be me and my cat Motor review one of the worst movies from the 80s today. So we're going to do bad movies, right, Motor? Come here. We're going to do bad movies, but they are going to be, she's on her way. So they are going to be bad movies from all the different decades. But I thought, we'd start with this because this movie is for so long been to me just so bad. And I'll give you a little bit of history, okay? I'm gonna give you a little bit of history. Hopefully, not get too rambly. But my sister, okay, so when this movie came out, I think it was '83, which means I would have been 14, and my sister was 2 years older than me. She still is. But her friend worked at the movie theater in town. So this was Patchogue, Long Island, by the way. Shout out to Patchogue movie theater, and we would be able to get to see movies for free because her friend worked there. So it was really fun. We would go see movies. So I think I sat through Stayin Alive when it came out at least twice. And so there were a lot of things that I observed, and it is kind of like a fond memory for me because just because of the time frame back then, just young and innocent, da da da. Hey, Motor. Okay, so Motor did sit through this movie with me, so we're reviewing it together. So she will chime in when she has something to say. But anyway, we went to see the movie in the movie theaters when it came out, and it was a big deal because Saturday Night Fever back in the 70s was a huge deal. And so this was the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. So just to give you a little bit of history on that, if you haven't seen Saturday Night Fever, Saturday Night Fever was about this guy. He was living in, I want to say Brooklyn. Was it Brooklyn? I don't know. Okay, so he was living in like Brooklyn or the Bronx. I don't know. I feel so dumb right now. But he was living somewhere, and he would go out to nightclubs and dance really good. And then he saw this lady who was a really good dancer, and he really liked her, and so they started dancing together, and they entered a dance competition, and then one of his friends fell off a bridge because he was kind of like, quote, killing himself, not killing himself because his girlfriend was pregnant, and it was just kind of like this, like, a slice of, urban life, or, what it was like then for, young up-and-coming people with, like, also music mixed in, and then it really, like, got a lot of people's attention, and the music was great, and so people were very excited for the sequel. The sequel was so different. Stayin Alive, which was based on one of the songs from Saturday Night Fever, one of the main songs, which was a big hit, Stayin Alive, by the Bee Gees. So the sequel just went in this totally weird direction from the original, where we had Tony Manero, who was the main character, played by John Travolta, dancing at nightclubs, and mainly one nightclub that had this big light up, like is now very iconic, light up dance floor.
Right on.
Which apparently Motor likes. So then he's all of a sudden now in the sequel in Manhattan. And he's trying out for Broadway plays / dance shows. I don't know. That part always confused me. What was happening with that? But he wanted to be a dancer. And he wanted to be a dancer on Broadway. There was nothing about he wanted to be an actor on Broadway. He wanted to dance on Broadway. So he's all buff now, which apparently you had to be really buff to be a dancer on Broadway. And the other really weird thing to me about this is like now all of a sudden he's this very serious, highly trained dancer. He's even teaching other people how to dance.
5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Like, I don't think that's how you get on Broadway, really. And I could be wrong about this, but for most of the time, I think what was your training in? Where did you receive your dance experience? Most of the time, I don't think people are like, well, I came up through the school of Bay Ridge Disco, which is where he would dance back in the day. But okay, so we'll just go with that. He wants to be a dancer. He was a talented dancer. We can follow that. We can follow that thread, but it gets so weird, which is one of the reasons why this movie is so dumb. And I had actually went just before I started making this video, and I looked for a clip and just some interviews with Stallone and Sylvester Stallone, which I forgot to mention. Sylvester Stallone of Rocky, and some of the other big movies of the time. He was huge back then. So anyway, he directed this movie. He wasn't in it. He makes this little weird cameo at one point where Travolta's walking down the street, and we see all of a sudden he passes Stallone, and they kind of like turn around and do a double take at each other. And I don't know. I guess if you're gonna direct a movie and you're not gonna act in it, it's fun to do a little cameo and give the audience a little here I am. So that's what that's part of Stallone's contribution in this movie. So one of the things that always kind of bothered me about this movie is how weird the Broadway play is that Travolta ended up dancing in. But before I even get to that, because that's a whole other thing. I was, like I said, I was watching these interviews, and Stallone actually said, he's on Joan Rivers' show, and he actually says, I didn't want to do this movie at first because I didn't know anything about dance.
When the idea was presented, I was a little worried about it because I didn't know that much about dance.
And so that answered like so many questions that I've had over the years about what he thought. Like, did he ever go to a Broadway show? Did he ever have any concept of But okay, again, I'm going to get more into that. So, all right, Travolta has he's trying out for all these different things, and he is teaching dance lessons to a bunch of like really schmucky people, and he's living in this dive, and he's always waiting for the phone to ring for callbacks so he can get a part, and da 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 da. So he has this girlfriend, and she's played by Cynthia Rhodes, and Cynthia Rhodes is so, like, I don't even know her character's name in the movie, but she is so hot. I should also say too a couple of things. One, she was huge star back in the day. She was in I think it was like Animotion or something like that. I don't know, but she was also in 2 other like iconic movies. She was in Dirty Dancing. She played Penny, the original Dirty Dancing, the only Dirty Dancing, and she played Penny, and we all know how amazing she was as a dancer in that movie.
Who's that?
Oh, them. They're the dance people. They're here to keep the guests happy.
And then she was also in Flashdance. So if you haven't seen Flashdance, you have to see Flashdance. And you also definitely